Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And I've had a pretty hectic and busy week in real life last week, so I didn't have that much time. And when it comes to EVE Online, I did, well, rather the usual thing. I didn't really manage to find enough time and energy to get into the invasion content to check things out there, so I rather fell back on quite a bit of exploration. And actually some of my runs were quite nice, finding like 4 combat sites on a single tour, like 2 4 out of 10s, 2 3 out of 10s. Not that much in loot, but a couple of them were very rewarding, and so overall I feel like my exploration was worthwhile. Although the value of the loot seems to be pretty bad, so I moved quite a bit of it already to Jita, took a look at it if I wanted to sell at that point, and I definitely didn't. Couple of 1-year low points and things like that. Next to that, I also kept up with the blueprint copy business, which sales have been going up in volumes, but the prices are still staying a little bit below what I'm usually used to. But on the other hand, if you can then turn around more product, I have been overproducing a little bit because my brother has been making BPCs as well. It all works out just fine, and I feel like it's still, a pretty good passive way to make ISK at the moment. PI, well, I'm doing it, but I'm not selling it. That across the board is just really not doing well. If you follow EVE Talk, you know that especially in the last week, the advanced PI materials needed for structures have been absolutely clobbered. Almost all of them are at 1-year low points. I've actually been buying some of them before. Basically, it's now the time to look into some PI investments, in my opinion, and not really good news for producers like myself, of course, where everything just feels like it is undervalued when you move it and try to sell it. So at the moment, I'm hoarding it. We're building up a nice block of PI, a nice backlog of PI in Jita itself, and when or if prices finally move back up, I'll be ready to try to take advantage of those. And then of course it becomes that balancing game where you don't want to oversupply the market all of a sudden. So that's going to become an interesting process as well, I think, when I fully expect this to come back, perhaps even after the summer or something like that. But I fully expect PI to make a comeback. Then we'll try to grab some profits on that. Most of my trading has actually been in Tech 2 ships, which have been doing some bouncing, but not really to good high points. So there as well, what I am seeing is a little bit of a lack of demand, a little bit of lack of interest at the moment, although they are still amazing and great ships. I guess that perhaps the Triglavian ships are taking over a little bit in the meta, being so front and center with the invasion. And then of course we've got the new Edencom ships, or the Edencom ships that are coming with full line of ships, full line of a new weapon system, Tech 2 variants, support skills, a lot of skill points that are needed there. And so of course I have been keeping up with the daily login rewards, which has so far granted us quite a few very nice skills to get us going, and hopefully we can get everything ready for when these new Edencom ships come to the game. And you guys know me, I'm more of a Care Bear and a solo player, so I'll probably take a look at them and see if I can't find any uses for them in a PvE setting, rather than trying to use them as a counter to the big blobs that anchor up around one point, which is really very clearly their design, of course, to be a little bit of a counter to the big blob gameplay, where basically the easiest way to hurt all of those cats is to give them a very simple order, which is usually to probably anchor or orbit around a single ship. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see when those deploy in the game, but before that we've got some login rewards, and then we have an event that's coming as well, so I'm really curious to see how all of that will work out. And next to EVE, all I really did was play some more Total War Warhammer 2, continuing the campaign with the dwarves. Obviously in an easy campaign you'll have a pretty easy time, although sometimes you are still surprised by some of the factions and their resilience. The Skaven, for instance, the final faction that I still had to eradicate in the lower right bottom of the map there, actually had like 4 armies running, 2 of them at full power. They actually grabbed the city back from me, forced me to create get several new armies in order to finally roll over them with the iron wall of the dwarves. I even had to bring my main hero and his army over to just be able to comfortably break that final holdout, which they still had like 4 or 5 cities there that took quite a bit of work to fully take over. It was actually pretty interesting to see how they also used that underway or underpassage, which they have to sometimes ambush my armies, and those were always very close battles. Despite the fact that it's on easy, it was not always a victory. I even lost a couple of armies there, so yeah, you can still be in a very comfortable situation, have a massive empire, but that also does bring your logistics to the breaking point, because getting many armies in a single spot to then take on a more hardy opponent is not always that easy. I still feel like it's a tremendous game, Total War Warhammer 2. The scale of the battles there is almost unparalleled, I'm gonna say. There are some games that definitely start to get pretty close to that, but it's really amazing. The visuals, the atmosphere, a Total War and a Warhammer setting is really very, very awesome. And the dwarves, I mean, just my kind of playstyle. You're able to turtle very easily if you can get some defenses up in those cities. They become very difficult for anyone else to siege and to break. Actually, saying that Skaven invasion that actually took a city back from me was actually pretty impressive as well. And overall, it's just a very interesting game, really relaxed, and you can keep pushing things where you need to manage different resources. Now, gold is not a problem anymore at this point, but do I have enough armies to defend all my borders? Where should I invade next? What is Chaos going to bring to the table? It still has a lot to offer, obviously, as I get some of these cutscenes and some of those weird messages about what Chaos is planning to do, that I'm definitely still not at the end. On the other hand, I'm probably at the end of this revisiting. I've said that a couple of times before, but I kept coming back. I kept trying to get a couple more things done in this campaign. It's been very, very interesting, but at this point, of course, we have Path of Exile that's on the horizon. It should be coming late next week with the next league. I'm absolutely looking forward to that as well. That's probably going to be the cutoff point for me for Total War Warhammer 2. And yeah, as I've always said, despite the fact that its DLC methods aren't always that easy and that forthcoming, can also become a little bit expensive. If you put it on a wish list, wait for a sale, then I think it's absolutely a no-brain buy if you like strategy games. So I've spent some more time in Total War Warhammer 2, had some more fun there with the dwarves, and I regret 0 seconds of it. It is absolutely a blast. And that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.